Okay, we're live. Apologies if you're trying to join us live. A few technical problems. Hopefully you'll be able to join us. But anyway, it is episode 260 of the Sports Therapy Association podcast. And my name is Matt Phillips, creator of RunChatLive.com. And as always, this episode has been recorded live on the Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel and Facebook on a Tuesday night. It's supposed to be 8 o'clock. It's 8:12 now because we had some technical issues, but hopefully you will be able to join us. Somehow we have reached 5 years of weekly podcasts. So that's 260 episodes in a row since we decided to record a little show back in 2020 to help answer some of the questions that therapists had when they were finally allowed to go back to work after COVID-19 restrictions were lifted. Since then, I'm happy to say we've grown into around a couple of thousand downloads a month, thanks to our amazing guests, who I must thank as always, for giving up their time totally for free. And also for people who joined us live. It's, as our tagline says, our idea of this is to put some evidence back into soft tissue therapy. But that means we're not shouting, we're not standing on a soapbox. We're being very calm and cool and collective. We don't want to make you feel stupid. We know what it's like to have paid loads of money on a course and then suddenly go onto Twitter or X or whatever the idiot who runs it wants to call it, and then have somebody shouting at you in capital letters and making you feel like, well, I may as well ditch it all in. That's the last thing we want, because believe me, we need more people like you who have got the empathy of wanting to work in healthcare and look after people. There's just a little bit you could tweak to make it even better and to take advantage of the amazing empathy and love and care you've got for your fellow human beings. So that's what we try and do. And these days now, we're very proud to say that the podcast is used on some degree courses, some physiotherapy first-year degree courses, for some reflection with the students there. And yeah, we couldn't do it without you. So I just want to say thank you very much to everybody who downloads the podcast, everybody who joins us live, and thanks to all our wonderful speakers. So thank you very much. Right then, this is our 5-year anniversary episode, like I said, and very shortly I'm going to be joined by Emily Gilbert of frameworksportsmassage.com. who 8 years ago made a huge career change by moving from biomedical science to massage therapy, and in her own words, has never looked back. As an evidence-based mobile sports massage therapist, Emily has been sharing some amazing information on Instagram. I recommend that you go and check out Framework Sports Massage. And this includes some reflections that she had following her experience at the STA and Hands-on Hub conference, which took place in Exmouth. Feels like a lifetime ago now. It was back in September. And so what we're going to do in this show, as well as celebrating our 5 years, we're going to talk about, Emily is going to talk about 5 things that she looks for in an MSK conference. So in a musculoskeletal conference, the idea being, what is worthwhile CBD to pay for with your hard-earned cash and what you're going to benefit from. And don't forget, on that topic, there is still a questionnaire which you, the listener, would love you to fill out, which you can reach by going to the stschool.co.uk or the sta.co.uk. And there's a QR tag on there, or there's a simple link button, and it will take you to a questionnaire which is called, what do you want from a CBD conference? We'd really love you to fill that out. The more data we can get, the better, because if the STA and Hands-on Hub conference was a success, it's because simply we listened to you. And we gave you what you wanted, rather than just saying, you need this, listen to this, sit down there, be quiet, listen to all of our stuff. That's not what we did at all. So if you can tell us more of what you want, then do it. Go to that questionnaire. I'll give the link out again at the end. But like I say, it's on the ST School website and the stschool.co.uk. But first, let me just make sure I thank my guests from last week before I forget. Sorry, this is a big intro today. You might just want to fast forward if you listen to the podcast. Fast forward, there's a term from the 1980s. Last week we had Jenny Burrell was with me. Fantastic Jenny Burrell from Burrell Education, who joined me. She's the founder, CEO, lead tutor and course curator of Burrell Education. And she taught me about her latest course, Brief Coaching, which is designed to provide the all-important skills to help health professionals avoid physical and mental burnout. Skills that, as we talked about, are very too often missing from traditional industry qualifications. Jenny is an amazing person, such a fascinating life story. She's had nearly 20 years history in the industry, educating, supporting particularly women's health in the form of movement, fitness, physiotherapy, soft tissue therapy, coaching professionals. So I do thoroughly recommend that you go along to burrelleducation.com and have a look. The brief coaching course, there is a £100 discount if you sign up before October the 31st, and it's October the 21st. This is going out live. So if I get it out as a podcast, you probably still got time if you listen to this. I do recommend you have a little look and check it out. If that suits you, then go for it. Right then, that is the intro. It took long enough. It gives me great pleasure then to celebrate tonight's 260th episode, to bring up my special guest, Emily Gilbert of Framework Sports Massage, with the 5 things I look for in an MSK conference. Hey Emily, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Well, that was a bit of a
I know, it was a bit stressful.
It feels like we were waiting for like 8 minutes watching this clock go round, watching the paint dry, but we're here, and I think some people have joined us. If you have managed to find our link, then please do leave a hi in the comments. I can see a few of you are joining on YouTube or Facebook, so just let us know that you can hear us and everything's cool. Yeah, that'd be great. Just tap we can see your comments, and I'll bring it up on the screen. Right then, whilst people are thinking about what to say, then Emily.
Hi.
5 years. 5 years. Nearly as long as when you decided to change your career from biomedical science. Yeah. That was 3 years prior.
First of all, happy birthday.
That's very nice. Thank you so much.
Podcast. I've been listening since the start. So it's come a long way, hasn't it? I can't believe it's been 5 years.
Were you really listening from the start?
That's I was listening from the start. So I kind of moving from biomed to massage, I was kind of seeking out evidence-based resources, and somebody recommended the podcast to me, and started listening, and it's fantastic.
Oh, that's very nice to hear. That wasn't rehearsed at all, listener.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, by the way. It wasn't, I promise.
If there's one thing that Emily is, it's very genuine.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. As you will see when you go to her Instagram account. No, that's really cool to hear. It's funny, isn't it? It seems so long ago now, but it was such a crazy time when you look back at COVID-19 with the gloves and the masks and the are we allowed to and all that. It was just crazy. It's the sort of thing which happens once every 100 years, isn't it? And we live through it, so.
Well, interestingly, I don't know whether I should talk about this. When I was training to be a biomedical scientist, as part of some work that we did on our course, we had to write a genetic code for a virus that would turn into a pandemic. I was never very good at genetics, so mine was just nonsense. But we also had to look at how we would control the release of information, spread of misinformation around it. So that was an interesting time.
Wow. So was that just before the virus broke out then?
No.
As part of it?
So I changed, I qualified in 2018 as a massage therapist. So it was way before then. Yeah, and also there was no practical element to that, by the way. We weren't making
I was going to say, you weren't.
It was all theory, and mine did not work, as I was repeatedly told by my lecturers. So,
or did it?
Well, I was never good at genetics. I was never good at genetics. It's not my area, not my forte.
I did genetics as part of human biology university, and it was the time of Dolly the sheep. So it was a very exciting time. It was. I can't remember what year it was, but we were
very
kind
exciting.
of all into molecular genetics and stuff. It was, fantastic. Then I realised how much you get paid if you're a lab rat, and it was just ridiculous. And I thought, there's no way I could do that, and I moved out of it. But anyway, right. So there we go.
Okay.
What made you? I think it's in order for people here about what 5 things you recommend should happen at an MSK conference. Tell me a little bit more about what made you move from biomedical science to massage.
So I worked in the blood labs, worked with blood, and I. Essentially, my job changed quite significantly. So I was part of a team that did a community outreach program. We worked with people with unhoused people with living with addiction, and we do community blood testing for bloodborne communicable diseases. Funding was pulled for that project that was incredibly fulfilling and worthwhile. And they wanted people to come into hospital. Did not work because people with very chaotic lives, it's incredibly difficult for people to come into hospital. My job changed a lot. I ended up being kind of moved. This is a really depressing story. I ended up being moved into a more management role. I moved away from lab work. It was not what I wanted to do. And so I was just looking for a bit of a change. And then an advert came up on Instagram for a massage course in Sheffield, and I did it. And I promptly handed my notice in, which I don't think you're supposed to do, transitioning from one role to another, but I did. And 8 years later, we're still here.
story.
I also assisted on autopsies for 6 months, and assisted on a lot of pain research while I was a biomed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting to know. And I think it's important as well, because I was wondering, actually talking about autopsies, not quite autopsies, but do you remember Serena Simmons, who was at the conference? Did you know that she is in the TV show Witches of Essex with Rylan?
I did not.
Well, there you go. Check it out, people. Just a little plug here for Serena Simmons, who was at the conference. She has the psychology school. And, but she's a serial killer profiler, and so that was her original kind of passion, and she still lectures in that. But she's with Rylan on TV doing the Witches of Essex. So it's on Sky. If you haven't got Sky like me, then you're going to have to find another way of downloading it.
Another way.
But shout out for that. I'm sure with Serena and her skills, it will be really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to check with you. Your thing on Instagram at Framework Sports Massage is trying to, I think I can safely say it's trying to help other therapists kind of embrace evidence-based and evidence-informed. And I say help because there's a lot of people out there who I don't think, and I've said this before, I don't think are helping as much as maybe their intention is. Even if they've got a good intention, it can get a bit shouty.
Yeah, it can.
And I think you kind of said that sometimes, depending on what your day's been like, then it can get a bit shouty, but you're very quick on the next one to kind of reel it in and explain yourself or whatever. So do you think your background obviously made you very open to looking for the evidence, and you kind of there was a really nice post from Ben Wybrow from Clinical Communication Podcast.
Love Ben's work.
He's brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah, brilliant.
He's going to come again on the show. He's doing an MSC at the moment, but he's going to be on the show in January.
Brilliant.
But he just reminded us that a lot of our clients, I mean, a lot of us have been to university and we've done essays and we've had to put, sources in and research and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of talk that language. We've got that mind just because we've been through it. A lot of our clients and a lot of the population haven't. So when we are working with clients or patients, if we start telling them, well, no, according to this, blah, 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 as he explains, it's just, you may as well be talking to a wall. It's just not their language. So it's quite a good reminder that a lot of our clients haven't been experienced to that. So we've got to talk their language. But anyway, for you, it came quite easy. But I'm wondering if you've got any advice or recommendations for the classic scenario where somebody has done a course, paid maybe $2,500, $3,000 for it. They've come out, they've gone on social media, and somebody said, massage doesn't split cancer, you idiot. You should have gone to a better course. You wasted your money. Kill your instructor or something like that. How do you help somebody like that? Apart from sending them to your Instagram, what else? What words of wisdom would you have for them?
It's hard. I've done courses like that where I've spent £3,000, and I'm not going to name the course, but and I have never used that course once. So that was a lovely investment of my time and money. It's really hard, isn't it? I think, first of all, you have every right to be a bit annoyed and a bit, miffed that you've just kind of gone through this, and then you've got people telling you, hang on a second, this is not, this is not quite in line with current evidence. I think, first of all, we have to just be open to being wrong. I think that's something that we just need to be in our lives, but also working as massage therapists. I think there will always be parts of the course, maybe in most courses, I think actually, that aren't quite as up to date as maybe somebody thinks they should be. I think when I've had conversations with people about this, we've always actually found takeaways from the course that have been beneficial. So whilst how can I put this politely? Whilst maybe some of the actual content of the course might not be the most up to date, it's actually kind of quite a nice jumping off point for people to start to develop their critical thinking skills. And I don't think people are quite realizing that they're actually doing that until we start having a conversation. So I think you can be annoyed. Take what you can from the course, maybe look at some skills that you have developed outside of the actual information that you've been given, and potentially look to research courses maybe more before you go into them next time. It's a tricky one, isn't it? It's hard because if you're paying a lot of money for a course, you expect it to be up to date. But massage is an unregulated industry, and unfortunately a lot are not. I'm trying to be really cordial here without...
You did very, very well.
Thank you.
And I like the way that you say, first of all, giving the person permission to be annoyed, I think is really important.
Yeah.
And trying to kind of get them to not be like that and move on is just not, it's like being with a client. It doesn't work. You're not going to get somebody to go, oh yeah, you're right. Thank you so much. You're amazing. You've got permission to be really, really pissed off because it's frustrating.
Of course.
But then I like the way you said that when you look into a little bit, you can see that there's quite a lot from that course you still can take away and use that really are just tweaking a few things.
Yeah.
I think especially with massage, because you know what? I would say that part of that being in touch with how the person is responding to your touch, being present and authentic yourself and not thinking, what should I have for dinner tonight whilst you're giving them this massage and this kind of grooming, this social grooming, kind of primate grooming stuff. You need to get a little bit into this kind of like, I'm showing my age now about saying hippie, but even if once upon a time you felt that you were moving their blood up their leg and down, increasing their circulation, if that's what it takes for you to have that kind of movement and come back and be present and thinking about it, brilliant. I think you can be a better therapist for it.
Absolutely. I think as well, we kind of need to understand that we are gonna say things incorrectly. We are gonna kind of give out misinformation because we don't know what we don't know. But you learn, you move forward, you try not to do it again. I think that's probably the way I tend to work. We could get into a deep conversation about the problem with misinformation within the massage space, but I don't think that's particularly helpful for people that have just spent thousands of pounds on a course.
I think one of the good pointers as well is that, because one of the things which makes people angry is kind of a fear, obviously, and you're kind of worried that you've said something to your patient or client, and then it's like, oh my God, what are they going to think of me? They're never going to come back. And I think they're really not going to care. In fact, they're going to like the fact when you go, you know what, I've been looking into that and reading and researching, and actually, I think I'd change that narrative a little bit because it helped me help you a bit more. And they're like, wow.
Absolutely. Definitely. I think also we have to be a bit more comfortable with saying we don't know. I think people are so frightened to say, I don't know the answer to that. Like, I don't know why I'm giving you different ways to phrase that. But I think there's quite a lot of humility in that. And clients really resonate with that. And just saying, I don't know the answer to this, but I will go and find out. I will speak to somebody that may know. I can refer you to somebody who may be more equipped to deal with the situation. I think there's a lot of power in that, and I've definitely done that. I would also say I've got it terribly wrong with clients as well, like monumentally wrong, where I've just lost a client mid-appointment and there's no coming back from it. But you try not to do that again, and you learn from your mistakes and grant yourself a bit of grace and don't do it again.
It's cool though, because it's all part of just not burning out, isn't it? When you forgive yourself and you realize I'm only human, and you realize the client doesn't mind. No, you know, you've got to just it saves you a lot of grief and stress and burnout. Definitely.
I think this is something that kind of maybe puts a lot of people off evidence-based practice as well, if they're very new to this kind of whole terminology and world, is thinking that you need to have this perfect practice where you never make mistakes and you can't say anything wrong, and you know you should be incredibly aware all the time of what you're talking about, and that it's not that. And I think a huge part of evidence-based practice is the ability to reflect on what you've done, how you improve it moving forward, recognizing when you actually did something really well, and just, I guess, like giving yourself a bit of grace in your practice as you're learning, because you have to. Otherwise, it'd be terrifying to practice.
That's true. Great points. So we could talk about that for another half hour, but I think it's a nice segue though, isn't it? Because obviously you're going to talk now about 5 things which you look for in MSK conference, because this can be one way to either make yourself more evidence informed, depending on where you go to, or it can be a way to spend more money on something and then regret it and have people telling you, oh, that course wasn't really worth it. So let's go into that. 5 things you look for in an MSK conference with Emily Gilbert.
Thank you. I think, first of all, just moving away from a kind of informative point of view, I think just a conference being really welcoming and open and diverse with the people that it has attending, but also it has presenting, because I think I don't know if you feel like this, but I think sometimes we see the same faces at the same conferences all the time, and they absolutely have got valuable things to say. Like I'm not criticizing people who are presenting, but there were people there that I had never heard of. And that was really wonderful. There was a hugely diverse range of topics, but just people were just incredibly welcoming. I think it was very easy to go up to people and introduce yourself, and I like the way we all had name badges on. And sorry, I'm bringing this back to the conference from 4 weeks ago, but it just felt a really nice, kind, supportive environment to be in, and not an environment where people are just going to brag about how much they know and show people how little they know. And I thought that was a lovely place to start.
That's really cool. I'm really glad you noticed that, because that conference was our chance to move away from kind of mainstream stuff and tweak it and do it as we wanted. And we had the tagline for the STA and Hands on Heart conference, and it was a case of pause was the first word. Pause, reflect, connect, and grow. And so that meant before we even started, Andy Hosgood was amazing in the opening, just to make people just say, right, take a breath, ground yourself, relax.
I really struggle to reflect. I find it a really hard thing to do. It's like my brain just like empties itself of any thoughts, but I think it's sometimes good to put yourself in uncomfortable situations. So
for sure, definitely. But we tried to model it, and I think this is where education sometimes goes wrong. We tried to model it on how you're supposed to be with a client.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're with a client, then you don't go rushing straight in. There's an engagement process of where you're just kind of chatting, relaxing, getting that alliance, that kind of like it's a safe space and all of that. And then you move in with something. So we just followed the recipe for that. So that's why we did that kind of breathing, relaxing, close your eyes, be present. You're in a safe place. Say what you like, ask questions. So I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah, I think it set a really nice precedence for the conference, to be honest. And I think because there's always that slight nervous energy, isn't there, when you're in a room with people you don't know, you've never met before, maybe you've spoken to online but not met in person. And I felt like the tables were arranged really nicely as well. I know that sounds random, but if somebody was sat on their own, people would go and sit with them. Nobody, I think, was sat on their own, and it just felt like a really nice way to kick off the weekend. Settled everyone's energy a little bit.
I mean, again, I'm really glad you spotted that, because the table thing, traditionally at a conference, it was, it's tempting just to have that kind of cinema stall or lecture kind of hall with everyone in rows. So all you've got is the people next to you who you're a bit close to and don't want to talk to really, and it's dark. And so, the round tables with people in semi-horseshoes just talking and being able to kind of lean over and say hi to everyone. Yeah. It was very intentional. But again, it's the same with the client. We know that if you want to form that therapeutic alliance with your client, you don't want to be kind of straight opposite them and higher up and talking down. You want to be kind of reflecting body language and sitting at an angle with them. Yeah. And same thing.
Absolutely. I think it's really interesting for me going into people's homes, because I'm very much stepping into their space rather than them stepping into kind of maybe quote unquote my space that would be a treatment room. I think that's an interesting dynamic, because it's obviously their space. It's, they are the one that should be in control of that space. But I think what's really nice going into people's homes, and this is, just coming away from the conference for a second, is most people offer me a drink, like when I get there. I mean, I've had lunch with some people after appointments before. But yeah, I just felt like the space was incredibly welcoming. It was incredibly easy to chat, and I always think name badges make it a little bit easier as well, don't they? And I think the whole setup from the off was just a nice way to settle everyone's energy and kick off the weekend.
Cool, great. So setting the scene, an important one. So if you are looking for a conference or something, to just see how much of that there is, or even if you go somewhere, even if they haven't got it, just make it for yourself. Just take some moments to talk to some people, feel confident, the right to ask questions. So, Crow, absolutely. Number 2. What's next on your list?
So next on my list was the real range of kind of MSK and non-MSK therapists that we had there. I mean, like I said, there were people that I'd never heard of, which was amazing. And I just thought it made for a really interesting weekend. Like I was speaking to kind of some people when I was there, and we were talking about how we ended up in talks that we didn't think we were going to want to be at, and they were incredible. And I think we just had a really, really good range. And I also think we kind of had a good range of people that maybe we don't necessarily see at some of the bigger conferences all the time. I mean, some, absolutely. But I just felt like it was a really wide range of therapists talking on a really wide range of topics, and it was incredible. I had a great time. I'm just going to talk about how much of a nice time I had.
It's really nice to hear that you say, you ended up going to see things which normally you wouldn't do, because maybe it's just the next topic was so disconnected. You thought, I'll stay here and watch that. We had a few cases where people said that in the feedback, where they stuck around because they felt they could be anywhere without judgment. So they thought, I'll have a look at this. Yeah. And they went, oh my God, I never thought that would be so interesting. That was so cool. So that was good to see.
And it was kind of like, that thing at a festival where you can't see everybody, so you kind of just got to make a choice. There were definitely hopefully see some people's talks maybe at another conference at another time, because there was stuff that I wanted to catch. And but yeah, the topics were vast, weren't they? So many different topics. It was fantastic.
And also we had some lovely feedback from the speakers. The speakers enjoyed it as well. We did have people like Dr. 𝐤𝐻𝐻𝐿,
absolutely,
who are obviously used to massive conferences with thousands of people, but they fed back to us that it just made such a refreshing change to be able to stand in front of a group of people who were clear-headed and ready to ask questions and had that permission. And like, I think Dr. 𝐤𝐻𝐻𝐿 in her and Serena, when they had a joint one downstairs, just started off the presentation going, right, what would you like to know? Like, we've got loads of information. We're amazing, we are, but how can we help you? What a great way to start a presentation.
Yeah. Actually, this is a nice segue into my next point, because I was going to say how approachable all the speakers were. And again, sometimes in conferences, and I understand people have busy lives, people have got places to be. Often people are doing multiple talks in a very short space of time at some of the bigger conferences, but people were quite happy to talk after they had finished their presentation. They were quite happy to take questions. Also, they were quite happy to take questions that maybe there was an element of disagreement with what they were saying, or, challenge. And it just felt like a really lovely space to do that. But I think their enthusiasm for the topics they were presenting on, but also their willingness to hang around afterwards where they could answer questions, just have a general chat, was lovely. It was really refreshing.
That's part of the atmosphere as well. It's funny, isn't it? Because they finish, then you're sitting down there, and next to you is Siobhan O'Donovan or Michelle Lyons, and they're just sitting there watching as well and chatting with each other, and you realise these people are human, and it's great. Exactly. It does so much for the therapist.
Yeah, I'm very guilty for putting people on a pedestal. Like I do that a lot. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all, but it was lovely to kind of, have people that actually wanted to stay around for the rest of the conference as well, where they could, because they were interested in some of the other speakers. They were interested in having conversations with the delegates. It was a really nice feel to it. And you didn't feel like you were bothering anyone, which was lovely. Nice. Nobody felt like they were in a rush to get away, which was quite nice.
Did you see that? There was one rather strange presentation there by, what was his name? Tris Attenborough. Did you see this at all?
I've just seen him pop into the chat. It was
Tris
very
Attenborough
odd,
is in the house. Tris Attenborough. His was amazing. Tris Attenborough says, sorry I'm late, absentmindedly started watching Bake Off. Thanks, Tris, for joining us.
I'm actually having a chat with Tristan on Friday. We're just having a Zoom chat.
Very nice. That's going to be an interesting chat. Tris was a great presentation. So cool.
Really good. Really good. Very engaging to watch. He's a great public speaker, though, isn't he? So.
But what I like is the only person who's got not much confidence in Tris is Tris.
Yeah.
And I say that with like with all the love I can give. But that's what makes it so good and engaging for me, because it's so nice to see someone who's not the guru standing up there, delivering something they've done 10 years in a row. It's just Tris really thinks and cares about every single slide and word, and you could see and
you can tell.
Yeah, you can tell. It's beautiful. Yeah. Really, really. It was probably, I can't say it's one of my favourites because they were all great, but it's one of the ones I remember maybe a lot out of all of them. It was a great one. So well done, Tris. And that's not just because you're here. I'd say that to a lot of people. It was
also,
really cool.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Me, Tris and Nikki were in the pub quite late the night before as well. So we did amazing.
It's true. The Italian delicatessen.
Yeah, but we
thing.
Stayed in the pub for about 4 hours afterwards. Yeah. It was good. We had a great chatting all things massage.
That's cool.
It was lovely.
Wonderful. So yes. What else? What's next on your list?
So my next one, which I really valued, was there was a lot of space for like disagreement and challenge and discussion. It wasn't just kind of everybody sitting there listening to somebody and being like yes, and there were conversations that I had with people after the presentations ended where maybe we didn't quite disagree on things, but it was done in such a respectful, we have space for other people's opinions. It doesn't just have to be this is the way it is and anybody that disagrees with us we can't speak to. I think we've lost that quite a bit online. And I think I spoke about this in the reel I put together. I think sometimes we can enter a space, especially on social media, where people are just screaming at each other. Like, it's wild, isn't it? Like, you probably wouldn't do that in public. So why are we doing this online? But there was a lovely space for kind of conversation and disagreement and challenge. And I do think that is something that we're really lacking in a lot of these spaces now. But yeah, I really valued that. I thought it was a lovely thing to be able to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we kind of mentioned this in episode 257. Myself, Anna Maria, Gary Benson, founder of the STA, and Andy Hosgood, we all kind of reflected on it. And we were also, one of our points was why conferences do cost money. And even though we tried to keep the price down and gave early birds and that, if you're going to have a nice space. I mean, Exmouth, we were spoiled. There were sea views everywhere. God, it was amazing, massive windows.
I swam in the sea. It was fantastic.
Did you really go for a swim? It was
when we finished on the Sunday.
It was beautiful there. And that added to this. You stood there in front of the window and just thought, wow, I'm free. I've got space. This is really healthy.
It was amazing. Do you know what I liked as well, just building on that, is that people could just move in and out of the rooms as they wanted to as well. If somebody needed to step out for 5 minutes, somebody wanted to have a bit of a move around, go and get a drink, like it wasn't disruptive to the people that were speaking. I don't know if that was something to do with the way the tables were set up, or everybody was just quite respectful of other people's space. But sometimes people do need to get up in the middle of a presentation, and I've seen conferences where it's been really called out before, that was more biomedical science days, where it was made a whole thing, and it's just really unpleasant. But it was a lovely space. People could step outside for a bit if they wanted. I mean, being by the sea does everybody the world of good anyway, doesn't it? But it was just a lovely venue. And I think from what I can gather from conversations that I've had, people were more than happy to pay what they paid for it. So, if you want a setup like that, it's going to cost money, isn't it? It is.
It's tricky. I mean, obviously everyone there kind of thought, we'll pay the money, but we know there's a lot of people who, I mean, there's a trend now, isn't there? It seems like you can get so much CPD online. And even afterwards, and I'm not picking on anyone particular for this in case you were one of the people, but afterwards people say, is there any slides? And a few times I kind of commented saying, you know what? The slides aren't going to hit it. You're not going to get what that conference is about if you just have the slides. Just to try and help people realise that when you do pay a couple £100 for a conference, you're not just paying for the information. If you were just paying for the information, just download the PDFs, watch the video. What you're paying for is the delivery, by speakers who are trained and thinking and how to make you feel comfortable, how to make sure that you've got the confidence to ask questions and, and that's what you pay for. And you're not going to get that from a PDF.
No,
so this is why people have try and kind of plan the year ahead. I think Anna Maria said, like, for example, just find yourself a budget. She says it's like £1,000 for her over the 52 weeks she's going to spend on CPD. Could be £500, but give yourself a budget and then choose wisely.
I know when I started out like 8 years ago, kind of my budget was like, mine's about £1,000 for the year. And mine, I think I set myself a budget of like £100, and you can still find really wonderful stuff. But I think sometimes it's expected to be free or just given. And I think kind of we have to acknowledge the work that goes into putting on something like this, because it's a huge amount of work, isn't it? To coordinate it and, organise it in the run-up, but to coordinate it on the day as well. And also to get the projectors to connect to the laptops. Why is that still a thing that we have a problem with in this society? It feels like very school, when they wheeled the trolley out with the TV on. But, there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes. There was a lot of work happening on the day to make sure everything was running really smoothly as well. And, you have to pay for that. And I just coming back to that point, I would encourage massage therapists to be setting aside a budget every year for CPD, but try not to compare yourself to what somebody else's budget might be like. Set yourself what you can afford and go out and look for some CPD.
So somebody's setting their budget and they're thinking, right, I want to make sure that this CPD, this conference is going to be worth it. How do they and yeah, how would they find out whether this conference is going to have time to reflect, a nice atmosphere for people to chat, encourage people to kind of a mixture of different. How do they find out before going to the conference? How would you recommend?
I think that's tricky. I mean, I quite like being quite direct, and I just ask people kind of that have been before, they could listen to this podcast. I think just speaking to people that have been in that environment before. I know I reached out to a couple of people when I've been at previous conferences, and people are more than happy to share information with you. It's an investment. People understand that. I also think look at kind of who is speaking, look at, the I guess like the overall ethos and direction of the conference, because I think sometimes we have massage therapists in conferences that are maybe not hugely directed to their work. We see a lot of massage therapists attending physiotherapy conferences, and that's great, that's fantastic, but sometimes they'll come away and be like, hang on a second, this was all about ACL reconstructions and it was nothing to do with me as a massage therapist. So I think have a look at the speakers, have a look at the cost, maybe reach out to some people if you're wanting to find out a little bit more about it, or if you're wanting to find out about the Hands on Hub STA conference, listen to this podcast.
I don't know when we're going to do another one. It was so rewarding, but so much work goes into it. I guess you got to ask the right questions as well, because the typical question will be, who's speaking? What are the topics? And again, that just turns it into a tick box of what information I'm going to give. When really it's like when you're choosing a school. I don't know, people who haven't got kids, this won't make sense. I don't have kids, so. But I've got a couple now, so we're looking into schools, because the 10-year-old is going to be leaving the school he's at the moment. Yeah. And when you're looking for a school for a kid, I can't think of another analogy off my head now, but you're not just looking at the academic side of it. Well, maybe some people are, but you're looking at what the social life's going to be like, how much support they are, whether they've got diversity, what sort of, how what they provide for people who are maybe on the spectrum, or people who have got physical disability or something.
With access needs.
Life, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it should be the same thing when you go to a conference. Don't just look at who's there. Oh, so-and-so's there. They're amazing. They're massive. That's going to be delivered.
I think it's the same if you're looking for a massage therapist. You don't just like look at a massage therapist and be like, right, I'm going to go and work with that massage therapist. Hopefully you do a little bit of research as to maybe what they specialize in, where are they based, can you access their treatment, is it within their cost, like what are their values, what's their ethos around their practice. Maybe people don't do that, I don't know, but I think actually something that was praised a lot about the venue was the consideration for people who live with neurodivergency, who are neurodivergent, because there were lots of options to change lighting, change sound. It was quite an accessible venue, just from what I spoke, from conversations that I had with people. But I think you kind of need to look at the bigger picture rather than who is just speaking, don't you? I don't know if I'm just waffling on here. Sorry, I tend to go off on tangents.
No, it's true. That's all good.
But yeah, looking at kind of the like you were saying, like the accessibility of the venue, the values of the people that are speaking, what you want to get out of the conference. Because for most people, even though they're there to learn, it's not just an information dumping exercise, is it?
Exactly.
And I think maybe you need to look a little bit further than just who's speaking, and wanting to be in the presence of a particular person because they're speaking.
Definitely. Great advice.
I don't know if that made any sense. I'm sorry.
No, totally. Totally made sense. Well, to me anyway, it made sense to me.
Okay,
I don't know
great.
if that's to everyone else. And I guess also, if you do end up going to a conference, I guess you could turn a conference that hasn't got all of this put in place with a certain mind shift of how you comport yourself at the conference. You can get more out of the conference than they were actually planned to deliver you, can't you? Yeah. So what do you think somebody could do when they arrive at a conference in order to create some of the kind of doors that were opened at our conference? What kind of mental mind shifts should they be doing as they walk through the door? What do you think?
I think you're not just there at the conference to take in the information. You're there as a person that can interact with other people. You can you can network. I think a lot of people are frightened to go up to other people and speak and chat. And in reality, most people at a conference want to chat. There's frequently people there on their own and, looking a bit lost and, or not looking lost, but, go and kind of start to speak with people. I think that's what the coming back to what I said before, the Hands-on Hub STA conference did so well because it was so easy for people to interact with each other. And I don't think I've really had that at any other conference before. It's all been, you sit on a chair and you listen to the speaker. I think as well, conferences are a great opportunity to listen to people that you don't necessarily agree with. So if there is kind of, stuff there that maybe doesn't particularly resonate with you or agree or, confirm your biases or whatever you want to phrase it as, take it as an opportunity to go and be in the presence of people that you maybe don't necessarily agree with and see what you take from that. Because I still think that makes people very uncomfortable.
I think that's always a good one. Yeah.
It's not pleasant, but, it's character building. So.
And it could be surprising because a lot of the time,
it could be surprising.
If you're going to see someone who, like you, their main goal is to help people, there's an altruism there, then even if they're using a system which you're not thoroughly on board with, the way they deliver it and the way they talk and communicate and stuff, you're still going to pick some things up from.
Yeah, of course you are. Of course you are.
I think that's really cool. I think it is a case of, like, we got Therapy Expo coming up, and in fact next week, I'll say that in a minute, we got the people from Therapy Expo coming up, and that's a massive event with 3,000 or 4,000 people coming through, and that's really, you couldn't really create the same authentic, honest, relaxed environment that we did at the Hands-on Hub and STA because it's just too big. But
it's different. When
you walk through that door, you're not going to be handed on a plate, but if you kind of go, right,
yep,
I'm amazing, I'm going to talk to anybody who I fancy talking to. Just go, hey, sorry, just wanted to ask you a question. Blah, 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 blah. And then,
you just have to be a bit proactive, don't you, in your approach? Yeah, absolutely.
It can be easier said than done, but I'd like to. I think that most people would be surprised that it's you'll ask that from somebody and they will be walking around going, "I'm so glad you said something because I had exactly the same question," or "That's really cool." Before you know it, you're having a cup of tea, or coffee or something, and you're chatting, and that is where the learning starts. That's where the experience and the connection and the growth happens.
Absolutely. I think it is just kind of, understanding that you might feel a little bit uncomfortable doing that, but it becomes much less uncomfortable the more you do it.
Yeah,
it does.
Right.
And what's the worst that's going to happen? Someone's going to walk away from you. We'll be all right. We'll survive.
Exactly. You'll survive. You'll be fine.
I've come from a science background. It's brutal. Like, you just have to lose any concept of how things should look.
I think it's interesting because we are talking about healthcare, and if you want to be a more empathetic clinician and have better active listening and kind of like be more engaged in the person you're working with, then the same thing should be happening at the conference. Everybody there should be more empathetic and relaxed and honest and safe, and it should be the same atmosphere. So
it should. And I think it did it really well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there's some things we can improve on, but generally, the whole kind of pause, reflect, connect and grow.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, like I said, we are going to have next week, very excited to say we're going to have the team behind Therapy Expo, which is a nice segue from this one. We're going to be joined by Molly Benson, who's the content producer, and Charlotte Spear, who's the show manager, and Vernon Smead, who's the business development manager. So all the big names behind Therapy Expo are going to be joining us, hopefully at 8 o'clock. Hopefully it'll start on time next week, Tuesday, October the 28th. If you want to join us on YouTube or Facebook. And it'd be lovely. There's no STA theatre or Hands-on Hub at Therapy Expo because we decided to experiment and do our own thing somewhere a bit more local than that. But we're all going to still be there. Anna Maria will be there, and there'll be a ST school stand with a couple of people there. We're going to have the STA stand as well, and I'll be there, both myself and Anna Maria, doing some presentations as well. And there'll be a lot of familiar faces, I'm sure. And hopefully, if you are listening to this podcast and you are going to Therapy Expo, then doesn't have to be us, but say hello to somebody. Say hello to somebody. Just ignore that little voice inside saying, "Oh, they don't want to know me," because it's going to make you such a bigger person. It really will be so cool for you. And you make someone else's day as well. That's even better. Improve yourself and their lives as well.
Absolutely.
Are you going? I don't know. I haven't asked you actually.
I am. Well, it clashes with something else. I'm doing some CPD around pain, and it's on the same days. So
both.
I might have to, but the CPD is in a different time zone, so I might be able to make it work.
Oh, okay.
And also, my parents live quite close by, so I can maybe like nip home and then do that and then nip back the next day. Also, just go and say hello to Anna Maria. She will envelop you, won't she? She will, though, won't she?
Yeah, she's very special and so authentic. Really, really.
She's incredible.
Really
I feel that I think we're incredibly lucky to have her in the massage space. I really do. I think there aren't many people that put themselves forward like she does, put their head above the parapet like she does. And I do feel incredibly lucky that we've got her. I feel like a lot of us are standing on her shoulders.
Oh, without a doubt. And I remember it all started, well,
how did you meet her, by the way?
Okay, so I did Run Chat Live conference where I kind of decided to fly running specialists from Australia and Canada and America and Ireland. I got all the names, basically, all the big researchers and all the papers I got together in Brighton because I just had this desire to bring them all together. And that was probably one of the last conferences where people were actually still paying. And so, we got about 100 people together and we had an amazing couple of days. But the speakers were slightly physiocentric because it was I was working with the PhysioMats podcast team, so it's kind of people like Jack Chu and Derek Griffin. But Anna Maria, who had already done a gait analysis course with, came along to Brighton. And we had a 12, 13 of all the speakers on the stage, and they were doing a question time with the audience. I was still even then trying to recreate this kind of like, they're just humans. Ask some questions, it's fine.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think a couple of speakers up there were kind of, I mean, this was going back, 6-7 years. So there was not an anti-massage therapist, but it was all a little bit not talking much about that. I think the conversation might have been fascia or something. So Anna Maria just kind of put her hand up and then stood up and just went, hold on.
Yeah, amazing.
Hold on, one thing. And she just talked to these fantastic, huge names in running research on the stage, addressed all of them. And just said, there's more to massage than I think you guys realise.
I think that's something she does incredibly well.
And after that, Jack Chu, actually, who hadn't met her before, went up and said, okay, you're interesting. How can we get this? I understood what you said and I feel really guilty now. How can we get massage? And that's when they started collaborating.
It's so much more. I think we're starting to see that coming through, which is really, really exciting. And how we can use touch and integrate touch into a lot of different situations outside of a physio rehab context, because my job is not really that. And it's just really exciting to see that being recognised and how much research we actually do have behind the role of touch in a lot of different musculoskeletal pain, trauma settings. And I think it's much more than a lot of people kind of think it is a lot of the time.
It is an exciting time. And
it's really
Maria
exciting.
doing a PhD now as well, as if it
my God.
wasn't busy enough.
Yeah. So one of my friends is one of her supervisors, really randomly. And I was just like, so excited for you. So excited for you both, because
she's got her work cut out then.
Yeah, but it's so valuable what she's doing, and it's fantastic to see massage therapists in this space.
It's very true. Adam Taylor has just said, sorry, just jumped on. Great work, Emily.
Oh, I know Adam. Really randomly. I used to work with his dad. It's really weird. So I knew Adam's dad before I knew Adam. Very weird.
Okay, there's a story there somewhere. Trish
that's it. I used to work with his dad.
Trish says, Anna Maria Mazzieri, one of the best advocates we have. Fantastic.
Yes, 100%.
Right, it's 9:00. Although we started a bit late, I need to let Emily have some food. She's been working all day. I do encourage you guys to go along to the Instagram channel, so Framework Sports Massage, particularly on Instagram, I think. I mean, Emily, you do this fantastic. I don't know if you're always in your car, but it's kind of dark. You've got one light on you, and it's just kind of reflection on the day.
That's why I work till like 9:00 every day. That's why.
But it just adds to it, and it just makes it really, just
I like darkness. I could live in the darkness like a little goblin. I'd be quite happy. I love winter.
So people go along to that Framework Talks.
Thank you.
And also just you've got another Instagram. We were talking a little bit off air, and I thought I'd mention that. So you've got Framework Talks Massage.
Yeah. It's under development, let's say. It's I just want a space where, so I mentor massage therapists that are wanting to develop their evidence-based practice, and I thought it was about time that I had a space where I could put more information, but it's been neglected over the last kind of couple of months. But we're going to start over the next couple of weeks talking more about pain, because that is the topic that I love. I'm obsessed with pain. Pretty much all of my CPD is around pain. And I think we have a problem in the massage space with people not understanding pain, yet working with people in pain. And hopefully I can maybe do a little bit to change that.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, I'm biased anyway, but obviously I recommend massage therapists to check that out. If they are interested in that, then they can either DM you at Framework Talks Massage.
Yep.
Or they can go along to website or email you, frameworksportsmassage@gmail.com.
I need to overhaul my website. It's just definitely something that's been neglected as well, but can't do everything.
I thought it looked okay.
I don't like it. I look at it every day and I don't like it. I need to change it.
Right. Thanks everyone who joined us
you.
live. Thank you, Emily Gilbert,
Thank
for
you.
your words of wisdom. I wish you every success with that mentoring. It's great. If anyone's going to help massage therapists, then I would put you very in the top 5, definitely, of people to talk to you. It's really cool.
You just got to do your little bit, haven't you?
That's a lovely, humble way of looking at it. If you listen to the podcast and you're interested in becoming an STA member, which obviously is all about kind of looking after people and giving you advice and help, then do use the code podcast25 if you're going to join up. It's only £75 a year. And if you use podcast25, then it gets you 3 months extra for free if you join for a single year. So basically you get 12 and 3, 15 months for £75 of membership, which is loads of stuff to look after you and be there if you need support and advice. And they've got regular coffee chat meetings just for members and all sorts of wonderful things for you. Just go to the sta.co.uk. You'll see links for joining there if you're interested. As I say, next Tuesday, Therapy Expo Special, which is happening November the 26th and 27th at the NEC Birmingham. If you are going there, then look out for the STA stand, look out for the ST School stand, and also I'll be presenting very similar to what I did at the conference. I'll be giving Mindful Strides, which is communication skills if you work with runners. It's not just for runners, it's communication skills, because that kind of links to my CPD course. So I think that's before Michelle Lyons, about 3:00 in the afternoon on day 1. So if you are at Therapy Expo and you're interested in that, then come along to that and I'll see you there. It's going to be very interactive. Get ready to speak. It's going to be, I can't wait. I don't want to give too much away. But
I love stuff like that. I love the interactive stuff.
I'm going to be presented with a hall of people who just come there to sit down and not say anything. I'm just going to turn it around on their heads.
Perfect. Amazing. Can't wait.
Without engaging or getting them on my side at all. It's going to be classic. It's going to be very
Can't
cool.
wait for people to be uncomfortable. It's good for you. Do it more.
I'm really looking forward to it. Right. Okay. Thanks everyone who joined us live. And once again, 260 episodes in a week. We couldn't do it without the amazing downloads, which obviously give us a lot of encouragement, and the feedback is really cool. If you listen to the podcast, and thank you as well, just do please leave a rating and a review, because it helps the podcast just appear higher when people do Google searches. Simple as that. More ratings and reviews, the more the wonderful words of our guests like Emily Gilbert will appear. If somebody puts in massage mentorship, if you leave a good rating and review, bam, she gets up there at the top. So it's all about just helping us get the good word of our guests out there. So do please leave a rating and review. Right. Hopefully we'll see some of you next Tuesday on Facebook or the Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel. Until then, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thanks, Emily.
Bye.